Before you listen to anything else, pause for a moment, not because this is dramatic, not because something big is about to happen, but because there's a kind of connection that only makes sense when you slow down enough to feel it. You've probably felt it before, without knowing what to call it. It's not obvious. It doesn't come with declarations or late-night confessions. No one says, "I'm attached to you." Instead, it lives in the quiet, in the way someone never fully disappears, in the way someone never fully disappears, in the way they stay just close enough to be felt, but never close enough to be questioned. They don't chase you loudly. They don't demand your attention. They don't ask for clarity. Yet somehow, they're always there. And what makes this unsettling is that you feel them even when nothing is happening. You feel them in silence, in absence, in moments where you expect them to be gone, but they aren't. Psychology tells us something most people don't realize. The deepest attachments don't announce themselves. They reveal themselves indirectly. And if you've ever wondered why someone seems emotionally tied to you without ever admitting it, this is where the truth begins. Because attachment doesn't start with love. It starts with attention, not loud attention, quiet attention, the kind that watches rather than speaks, the kind that notices rather than demands. Think about this for a moment. How many people truly notice you? Not the version of you that talks, but the version of you that changes when you're tired, the version of you that goes quiet before you admit something hurts, the version of you that smiles when you don't want to explain yourself. Most people don't see that version, but someone does, and they see it so clearly that sometimes it feels like they know what you're feeling before you do. That's not coincidence. That's not imagination. That's emotional attachment forming quietly, before logic ever catches up. Here's the part that might make you uncomfortable. People can be deeply attached to you without consciously realizing it themselves. They may never label it. They may never confess it. They may even deny it if you ask them directly. But the nervous system doesn't lie. The brain doesn't lie. Behavior never lies. You see, the mind forgets most conversations. Names fade. Details blur. Yet somehow this person remembers you. Not just facts about you, but patterns. They remember how you react when you're overwhelmed. They remember what throws you off balance. They remember the version of you that only shows up when you feel safe. Psychology calls this emotional encoding. It means information tied to you isn't stored as memory, it's stored as feeling. And here's the truth most people never hear. We only encode emotionally what our brain subconsciously considers important for survival. That means if someone remembers you deeply, your presence matters to their internal world. Even if they've never admitted it, even if they act casual, even if they pretend nothing is happening. This is why certain people feel your absence immediately. You don't have to announce distance. You don't have to explain yourself. You just pull back slightly, and something in them shifts. They feel unsettled. They feel off. They feel a quiet anxiety they can't explain. Not because you did something wrong, but because your presence had become stabilizing to them. Attachment creates familiarity between nervous systems. When that familiarity wavers, the body reacts before the mind can rationalize it. That's why they might check in more, why they ask questions they don't really need answered, why they stay close without ever saying why. And this is where many people misunderstand attachment. They think if someone doesn't confess, they don't care. But psychology says the opposite can be true. The deeper the attachment, the higher the risk. And when risk feels high, people choose safety over honesty. So instead of saying, "I don't want to lose you," they say, "This reminded me of you." Instead of saying, "I miss you," they send something small, something ordinary, something that gives them an excuse to stay connected without exposing themselves. This isn't manipulation, it's self-protection. Attachment creates two fears at once: the fear of losing you and the fear of revealing how much you matter. So they choose presence without confession, and if you're paying attention, you'll notice something else. They don't just care when things are good, they care when things are off. They sense when your energy drops. They notice when life weighs heavier on you. They protect you quietly, without asking for credit, because attachment wires people to guard what feels emotionally important, even when they don't know why, even when they don't have words for it. This is why some connections feel unfinished, not because something went wrong, but because something real was forming, silently. And once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. You start realizing that attachment isn't always loud, it doesn't always demand, it doesn't always claim. Sometimes it watches, sometimes it remembers, sometimes it stays. And in a moment, I'm going to walk you through the signs that reveal when someone has been emotionally attached to you long before you noticed. Not based on guesswork, not based on romance cliches, but grounded in psychology, behavior, and the quiet truths people reveal without words. Because once you understand these signs, you'll see your connections differently, and you'll finally understand why some people never really leave, even when they say nothing at all. Sign 1. They remember the smallest details about you. There's a moment most people miss because it isn't dramatic. You mentioned something once, casually, a preference, a story, a passing comment you didn't think mattered. Weeks later, sometimes months later, they bring it up naturally, not to impress you, not to prove anything, and you pause and think, how did they remember that? Psychology says this isn't accidental. The human brain forgets most conversations. Details fade quickly unless emotion is involved. When someone remembers your smallest details, it's because your presence carries emotional weight, not logical weight. Attachment turns attention into retention. They don't just remember facts about you, they remember patterns. How your mood shifts when you're tired, how you go quiet before you open up, how you smile when something hurts but you don't say it. They aren't just listening, they're observing, subconsciously, humanly, gently. Because when someone is emotionally attached, their brain keeps asking one quiet question: how do I stay close to this person? Psychologists call this emotional encoding, information stored as feeling, not data. That's why they sometimes say exactly what you needed to hear, even when you never asked. Memory doesn't lie. People only remember deeply what they're afraid to lose. Sign 2. They feel your emotions without you explaining them. You don't say you're tired. They hear it in your voice. You don't say you're upset. They sense it in your silence. You say, I'm fine, and they don't quite believe you. This is called emotional attunement. When two nervous systems become familiar with each other over time, attachment sharpens perception. Your replies get shorter, your energy shifts, your presence feels quieter. They feel it immediately, sometimes before you do. Mirror neurons activate more strongly when attachment is present. Your sadness affects them. Your anxiety unsettles them. Your happiness lifts them. Someone who is interested listens to your words. Someone who is interested listens to your words. Someone who is attached listens to your emotional signals. Your emotional state matters to their sense of safety. You're no longer just someone in their life. You've become part of their emotional environment. Sign 3. They struggle when you pull away, even slightly. You don't announce it. You don't make a scene. You just grow a little quieter. And they feel it, not because you told them, but because attachment makes distance loud. They may not confront you directly. Instead, they check in more, ask more questions, feel subtly unsettled. This isn't control, it's emotional security. Your presence has become stabilizing to them. So when it wavers, their system reacts. They don't just miss talking to you, They miss the feeling you give them. People who aren't attached adapt easily. Attached people feel the shift immediately. Behavior always reveals what words hide. Sign 4. They find reasons to stay connected. This sign is quiet. So quiet it's often mistaken for coincidence. They don't chase loudly. They don't confess. They just stay. A small message. A post that reminded them of you. A question they didn't really need to ask. An old memory brought up randomly. Psychology calls this proximity-seeking behavior. Attachment makes people want to stay close without risking rejection. So instead of saying, "I miss you," they say, "This reminded me of you." Instead of saying, "I don't want to lose you," they say, "Hey." Repetition is attachment. We don't repeatedly return to people who don't matter emotionally. If someone keeps finding small, ordinary reasons to stay connected, it's because losing access to you would feel like losing something important they're not ready to name. Sign 5. They protect you quietly. Attachment doesn't always show up loudly. Sometimes it shows up as quiet care. They notice when something feels off in your life. They check in during hard moments. They step in subtly when you're stressed or vulnerable, not for recognition, not to impress, just instinct. Humans are wired to protect those they're attached to. Your comfort and safety become linked to their emotional state. When you're uncomfortable, they feel it. When you're struggling, they respond, often without you asking. This quiet vigilance is one of the clearest signs of deep attachment, because love doesn't always speak. Sometimes it watches, sometimes it remembers, sometimes it stays. And if you've noticed these signs, understand this: someone who truly values you will show it, even when they're afraid to say it. If this resonated with you, acknowledge it. Awareness is the first step to understanding the depth of human connection. If you want, I can also shorten this for Reels, Shorts. Rewrite it for a male or female POV. Turn it into a spoken script with pacing cues, or make it more poetic or more clinical. Just tell me the vibe. If this message touched something inside you, don't scroll past it. Love isn't always loud, chasing, or obvious. Sometimes it hides in silence and distance. If you've ever felt confused by someone who cares but pulls away, this is your reminder. Not all distance is disinterest. Before you move on, pause for one more second. If this felt familiar, if someone came to mind while you were listening, if parts of this made you quietly think, "This explains so much," then trust that reaction. Awareness is not coincidence. Recognition is not random. It means you're starting to see emotional patterns instead of guessing intentions. And that matters, because the moment you understand attachment, you stop confusing silence for indifference. You stop questioning your intuition. You stop minimizing what you feel. So if this resonated, acknowledge it, like this, not for the algorithm, but for yourself. Comment, "I see the signs now," to anchor what you've realized. And if you want to understand what happens next, what it truly means when someone is emotionally attached but afraid to admit it, how that attachment shows up over time, and what it reveals about their inner conflict, subscribe, because the next video doesn't talk about attraction. It explains fear, avoidance, and the psychology behind why some people stay close but never step forward. You're not imagining these connections. You're learning how to read them. And once you do, you won't miss the signs again. If this resonated, don't scroll past it. Like the video to acknowledge what you felt. Comment, "I see it now," if someone came to mind. And subscribe, because the next video reveals what it means when someone is emotionally attached, but too afraid to admit it. Once you see these patterns, you don't unsee them.